Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us here at Inside the Force. I'm Dave.
Casey. Hello, everybody.
I'm Cody. Hey, everybody.
I'm Corey. Crewmaster Coup.
Crewmaster Coup.
Crewmaster.
Look, there is a lot to talk about, and I know we have only 45 minutes. The big thing we want to do is talk about mainly episode 9. Of course, everybody's talking about the trailer and all that stuff. But the big thing I want to do is Look, I spend a lot of money on Star Wars toys. So I do a pretty big collection, and I love these opportunities because I do want to give a lot of it away. So I was thinking, as I was preparing for this, the big thing was I don't want to just give away maybe 2 or 3 things, right? So I kind of got inspired by that giant mural that's hanging out in Celebration, where it encompasses the entire saga as well as all the TV shows and whatnot. So I kind of brought an item somewhat representing each one of those, right? So we've got the official episode 1 graphic novel. So that's episode 1, obviously. And episode 2, if anybody hasn't read this, it's an awesome book, Queen's Shadow, the brand new one from E.K. Johnston. 3, let's see, Aya Sakura. There's a pop figure there for that. Everybody knows R5-D4 from episode 4. Oh, in between there is Clone Wars, right? Another great book you should read, Dark Disciple. Fantastic book about Asajj Ventress. Where'd I go next? 4. Oh,
that guy.
Chopper. Vader comic from Charles Soule. Anybody not read that? You need to read that. Where am I going?
Just go down the line here.
You got Bespin. I got Han from Black Series 6. I got Jyn Erso. You know, everybody's represented. There's your 979. So anyway, I just want to get this going and give this stuff away. So the big thing is I want to hear from everybody. So I think there is actually a wireless mic up here, right? So let's talk about episode 9 real fast. Thoughts? We want to talk. Here's the thing: is that the big thing we've done, obviously, like you have, I'm sure, in the last 24 hours or so, 2 days. Everybody's broken it down, kind of what's in the trailer, what's we've seen. But what the next step that we always take is theorizing, right? What's it all mean? How does it end? How is it going to make you feel? What are you looking for to get satisfied by the ending, by the story? So let's hear that. I guess the first thing is first thing I had is how do you think? I mean, everybody heard him laugh, right? How do you think Palpatine is even coming back in this? That's the big question. Does anybody have a theory real fast? Anybody?
Force Ghost.
Yeah? You think? Force Ghost. You think Force Ghost is it?
Well, that's what he said.
I know, but
I love it because I think what's interesting is I really like the Art of books. So the Art of Force Awakens has a lot of stuff that delves into dark side after death and what could happen. They have like different images of like Palpatine as like a red blurry Force Ghost. They've got like this Anakin that's like half Anakin, half Vader Force Ghost, and I think that's super interesting. Is what can Sith or dark side Force users do to try to live on?
There is a canon answer to that though, but I guess it's always, as Story Group has always said, you know, when they're given answers or giving answers that kind of answer big canon questions, they always do say though that nothing's really confirmed or denied until it appears on screen to either confirm or contradict that. So one of the answers that's always been talked about is that the Sith cannot really pass on to that stage of the Force to become Force ghosts in a sense, much like Luke and, or hopefully Luke, but Obi-Wan and Yoda and Anakin and all that stuff. So from what we have seen in canon, the Sith always lives on through usually just kind of like a shadow of themselves, an aura of themselves, or attaching themselves to an object of some sort. I know the Vader comic just recently kind of pushed that a little further. So that's why I'm wondering, basically what I'm getting at is I feel like that they will have a definitive answer of what happens to the Sith after, we'll see absolutely what happens to that. And they may even rewrite the rules a little bit. I mean, that's happened before. So it is free game, so I think it definitely is possible that he can come back as a Force Ghost. But I know because from like the old expanded universe, the Dark Empire storyline, so I'm always on board with that. That's immediately came to my attention. And just even reread it.
Reread it
last night because it's been quite a few years to refresh myself. And there's literally scenes from that graphic novel, that trade, where you just can lift it right out and put it in episode 9, just change the characters up a little bit. But there are elements of the Dark Empire story that, to me, speak. I don't think JJ read that necessarily, but I think there are elements in that. Maybe story kind of maybe nudged, suggested things here and there. Who knows? But yeah, the cloning aspect of Palpatine, or so that he has the power to transmit his consciousness or his spirit into another being, preferably a clone of himself, is something that I'm definitely excited about, but who knows, of course.
First off, come up and grab something.
Yeah.
I think I think that's the easy way to do, of course, is a Force. Good pick.
Good choice.
I think have you read that stuff? Yeah.
The audiobook is fantastic. Yeah.
One of my favorite characters now.
Quinlan
by
Voss.
far.
This is a brief tangent. We have Quinlan Voss, who we haven't talked, and it's never been touched on in canon much at all, hardly, besides Clone Wars and a brief cameo, I think, in Revenge of the Sith. Right? I think there was a brief scene.
Yes.
With the hologram.
No.
Where
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but
they mentioned him.
That's right. Milk mentions him. But no, that book, dives into
fantastic,
it.
yeah.
It's so good.
I think the Palpatine Force Ghost is definitely I want to say easy way. I mean, that is a way to bring him back. I want to venture and think that it's possible. I mean, if Maul could get cut in half and survive, I feel like he could survive. Now, what we see, I guess, is the remnants of the Death Star there in the horizon.
Which looks awesome.
It does look awesome.
And who knows, like, what planet is that? Is it on?
I think it's Endor.
In the system.
But if he falls to his death, if he didn't die in the fall, surely he died with the explosion. But you never know. Maybe there was enough time when he fell to get away or to do something. I don't know. There was enough time.
I think technically, like in that explosion, it should have been just obliterated. There should be nothing left. Not only that, but the explosion should have taken out the entire
Death Star,
and all the life on the Endor moon. It was
but what we've learned also from, if everybody played the Battlefront 2 game, the campaign, I think that's what it was, or from the book
Inferno
Squadron. There was a lot of debris. When Iden she's actually attacking Yavin when the Death Star, the first Death Star gets destroyed, and she gets caught in the debris that forces her and crash lands her on Yavin. So there is debris. I mean, there is a lot of debris. It doesn't actually incinerate everything. But so anyway, no, that's a good one. I think the Palpatine thing. Anybody completely surprised by that? I mean, completely. Yeah.
If someone called it, then you are just like Nostradamus. You can predict. That's incredible.
There were some rumblings out there about it, but nothing
there was
really
always
definitive.
rumblings about the whole sequel trilogy of obviously with Snoke and everything. It was always a thought of being either something related to Palpatine or whatnot. But
hashtag who is Snoke?
It's still there. But I mean, this is full on. I mean, just even when you thought was that Palpatine, and when he showed up, Ian McDiarmid showed up on the panel. Like it's incredible.
That was cool.
Yeah. And then if you didn't see his tweet, he tweeted later that day saying the dark side's more powerful than ever.
That's great.
Right.
Building the hype.
Speaking of Snoke, me and Cody actually have a bet for episode 9 that they won't even mention Snoke once. He is done. Like it's just like, okay, let's just move on. And unfortunately, I say that unfortunately, but they're just moving on.
I'm saying that he will be mentioned. They're going to tie it in. Somehow Snoke, Palpatine's behind Snoke's doings or something.
Yeah.
But we got a little wager going.
It's a silly bet. It'll be fun to see.
Questions?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Possession.
I don't know, man.
Possession.
Can you come up here and grab something real quick?
That's what I always hoped. I always hoped there was something that tied with that, because I love the Emperor and I love the Sith, and it just saddened me that none of that was really in the second. Like, I mean, it was spoken, but I'm just happy. I felt like I was ecstatic when I heard his laugh. I literally was jumping up and down. I wish that there was footage of me, because I probably would make them delete it, because I was, but no, with Snoke, who knows? Unfortunately, I don't know if that's ever gonna be wrapped up on screen. I mean, it could be mentioned in something separate, maybe one day. But there's so much already that's just from that trailer that we need to know. I don't think they're gonna go back and have time to. And if it is, it'll be a sentence. It'll be like, Snoke came from here. No big deal. And they're gonna go, okay. Like
that's a thing.
That's my biggest question. Yeah. Sure. How is Palpatine involved?
And how long has he been involved?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's very
question
viable.
here. You want to run that mic down real
sure.
fast?
I'm going to pass it around.
Pass it around.
I think the Snoke thing, though, I think I agree with Corey. I think there is definitely going to be a bigger backstory with him. I mean, because you got to remember, we have 30 years from 6 to 7 that is relatively untapped. You have things like Bloodline and what's coming with The Mandalorian, a little bit of Aftermath, the novelizations, but there's nothing with out unknown regions. There's nothing, what if you read Aftermath, everything gets pushed out there, and when the First Order starts developing, but it's like there's nothing in there of Snoke, and a lot of Hux and his father and all that stuff, but somehow Snoke became the power. So I don't know. I think it's. I want to say. I think initially they're not connected. I really do think they're not connected. Although I think that Palpatine knew about him. I think Palpatine. If you read some of the novels, Palpatine had a lot of stuff planned. He had backup plans, and he had these Sentinels. Obviously, if you've seen Battlefront 2, so his consciousness is around. I mean, he's somehow, I guess we're going to see, in my opinion, he's been orchestrating this whole thing somehow, either from the grave
once again,
or physically. But it'd be tough to swallow if Snoke isn't that significant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of like Luke showed us a force power that we had never seen before in The Last Jedi. Maybe we have to see the Emperor using something we haven't seen, something that he learned from Darth Plagueis.
Absolutely.
I like the Plagueis connection a lot. That's really interesting because I think we talked a little bit, after the trailer. It's something that we all just like theorize and speculate. But musically, Snoke's theme from The Force Awakens has a lot of similarities to the Plagueis
comics.
Tragedy of Darth Plagueis
Episode
during
1.
Revenge of the Sith. The music that's happening during that scene, there's connections if you listen to it in there, and there's a lot of people that speculate about it on the internet. You can Google it and find that. But I think that's a really interesting way to tie together Palpatine and Snoke is through Darth Plagueis and what Palpatine learned from him, and does Snoke have any involvement in that? Is Snoke actually Plagueis? We don't know.
That was always my kind of hope, that it was that somehow. But it's like, it's so hard now to go back. And yes, they can write things that make past movies more meaningful. Like when after you watched, Rogue One, you went and watched A New Hope. I mean, I feel like, there are things that it's cool that there's things that make the older movies better. So I think they could somehow write it in a way that fixes that. And I say fixes, and I don't want to make this a episode 8 thing, but that could make that a thing that would make you want to go back and rewatch that movie. And it's like, this is a whole new movie after 9. Like it's crazy. So I think, I want to say almost anything's possible, but it's a hard pill to swallow that they think that they would even have room or to mention Snoke. I just feel like Snoke's not going to be. I don't know why. I feel like there's so much here. I mean, unless Snoke is something crazy like that, like a failed clone. Because my whole thing was like, I just can envision, and I hadn't read Dark Empire, and So I just envisioned like this, because like, Resurrection, because spoiler alert, I don't know if you've read the Vader comic. I guess try not to go into it too much, but I really like that aspect of a artifact being possessed almost, and that can carry on a life force. But I do like the clone aspect where like it's like these pods like jingling in the like halls of like the Death Star, and there's always one Palpatine that is freed to take care of it all, and then after he dies, he frees someone else to take care, and then maybe that's who they run into. They could run into a young Palpatine. Like that's the biggest question for me. That's all I can think about is, and I'll always run off on tangents on it because my biggest thing is how is the Emperor involved? How much is he involved? And like Dave said, like and how is he coming back? That's the big question for me, because they wouldn't have saved it for the last like that. They wouldn't have built it up to that laugh and that scene of the Death Star if it wasn't something was like that's the end game. You know what I mean?
We're in the end game now.
We don't want to bring that up. We could.
Staff, yeah.
And what shape is the Empire in after Snow is gone? Like,
First order.
First order.
What shape is the first
Yeah,
order
yeah.
in?
Yeah, that's a good question.
what shape are
Exactly. Yeah, we've talked. Yes.
you know, like the change of
I think there's just it's complete shambles.
So the
like,
question.
hey, he's gone, we're just going right back to business.
Yeah, Kylo's
how
got
good
his
of
own
a
things.
supreme leader is Kylo going to be?
Well, exactly.
Will they follow him?
Yeah.
Right.
You want to answer that?
So we're the one
Did you
question.
come and get something? Come and get something.
The one question, if you saw the episode 9 panel that Stephen Colbert tried to get, is how much time has passed.
Yeah.
All we kept hearing was a while. Year, a year, 2, 3 years, who knows? But
Why is that such a secret? Like this, it's some of that was funny, but anyways, go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there is no telling yet how big the First Order is because we didn't see
Whatever you
anything with Hux. We didn't see anything much of the First Order in general besides that shot of what looked like Kylo body slamming somebody down. Could it have been a Knight of Ren? Could it have been a Rebel? I don't know, but there were First Order stormtroopers there. So I get the impression that the First Order still very much is alive and doing their thing, just because from the crawl of The Last Jedi, Snoke had basically commanded all of his cells throughout the galaxy to kind of take command and take over kind of thing. So I got a feeling that it's either it's a complete First Order galaxy now, or enough time has passed to where off screen the Resistance has risen up to somewhat of a good number, and then we pick back up in this movie where it's just constant fighting with two great forces now. Still
Yeah.
maybe some
That's
building.
tough.
No, it's tough to say.
It could just be all
Obviously.
about like Force users. Like Force Order. They may explain it in a sentence. They may just say, "Oh, First Order's been gone for a year," whatever. And right now it's just a vendetta of. It's like maybe Kylo with a few of the troopers, and maybe then I don't know what he's doing if that is a Knights of Ren. It's weird that he's not stabbing him, but he's actually.
Well, he actually is stabbing him. Well, I think
It's
Stabbing
backwards.
with the side.
With the
Yeah.
side thing. He's body slammed him with the crossbow.
Oh, it
and
looked
he's
like it was
throwing him
completely
down. So,
pointed
a
backwards.
little tiny lightsaber in his chest right now.
But
I think he
I
lifted
don't
that
know.
dude with one
Lifted it
arm
up,
with his
yeah.
lightsaber, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
it's
he's
impressive.
yeah.
He's getting very.
He's a big
he's getting
man.
Really
Yeah.
swole.
If you
I
watch
think it does all come
panel.
down to. I think it all comes down to how much time has actually passed. So
Yeah.
there's rumors that it's been a year. There's rumors that it's been 2, 3 years. I don't know. So a long time. Yeah, but the rumors have been a year. So I think it really depends on the time frame.
However long it
of where
takes for
goes.
them to make books and other movies in between that. However long they told them to make it.
I'm curious. I'm really curious, and I don't want to make it too much of a. But, and this is mainly for us up here too. But we'd love to hear everybody's thoughts. How much do you think, just of the glimpses of what you've seen of 9, how much of this do you feel like will change your thoughts, good or bad, of Episode 8?
Yeah. And feel free.
Yeah.
We got a mic
Cody?
here, so if you guys do have a thought.
It'll be interesting when we look back at, I think Force projection was a huge new Force power, obviously. Kind of blew our minds at the time, but the trailer, a lot of us have been talking about how misleading is the trailer. What are we seeing? It's really interesting, amazing shot of Rey doing this awesome backflip over, it's like a TIE interceptor, right?
It's like some kind of
But it's not
special
Kylo's
forces.
exact silencer, I think.
Yeah, he's a silencer.
And it does this weird cut where you're looking at Kylo's hands on the
Yeah. Why didn't it show his
but
face?
Why don't they
Yeah.
show his face? So it's like, is that happening or is it not happening? Is this projected? I think those kind of force powers will look back and see why they laid the groundwork. And hopefully it helps everyone's point of view of the movie, whether or not. I think that's the one thing is a lot of people fall on different sides of, do you like prequels? Do you like the original trilogy? Do you like the sequel trilogy? Do you like The Last Jedi? But I think what's fun about Celebration and about this new trailer for Rise of Skywalker is now, like, we just get to come together as fans and talk about and celebrate what we love. And hopefully this movie, helps bring people back together as opposed to...
That's what it felt like. I mean, I haven't been affected by a trailer, and I was actually, I play X-Wing miniatures, and I was down there, I was in the Fantasy Flight room talking to another guy about the trailer, and like I just kind of, when I said it, I realized it, and it was funny because I said, I haven't been this moved in a trailer, specifically Star Wars, and I'm like, since Force Awakens, I think it was Chewie, we're home. I think that was the last time that it kind of, but this was on a whole different level for me, just because the Emperor, I mean, it was great, but then when the Emperor laughed, I lost it. But yeah, I mean, it's a really great trailer, and I think it invokes exactly what you're talking about. It's the culmination of everything, and I think you can feel it. Everything's gonna be okay.
Thoughts on 8, Case?
It makes me think everything's gonna be safe.
There's always those talks on the internet of people hoping that this will retcon a lot of what happened in 8. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there's going to be a lot of, because it has to in a way, tie in respect to what happened in 8. Some things you just can't ignore, the fact that Luke is gone.
He did.
And Snoke is gone, Kylo. So obviously there's certain things that you can't ignore.
No one's ever really gone.
That's it.
But they are, though.
There are things obviously that are coming back that, in a way, as you can see us fixing things happen in 8, such as Kylo fixing his mask.
That wasn't Kylo, though. But
Or
somebody did it for
regardless,
him.
the mask
He
is being
hired a man.
fixed.
He
Yeah.
got a guy.
I think what happened in 8 is still going to be relevant and still going to be factored into what happens in 9. But will it change my opinion of 8, or will it make 8 more relevant or even more significant? Yeah, I think so. I think that's just the role, the responsibility of 9 is to tie all 3 trilogies together and to make it all relevant to where it just makes sense. It just bridges the gaps between everything and makes every one of these movies relevant. So I think will definitely change how important 8 is to the entire saga.
Yeah, eight's been kind of the big episode. I think that's the thing about Celebration is what's, and I've been coming to Celebration for a long time, ever since Celebration 3, and I feel like this is ultimately the place where everybody loves Star Wars. I mean, even your opinions on 8, there's people like the panel when Kelly Marie Tran came out. I mean, you can tell people love her, even regardless of what happened to her on social media and all that stuff. But regardless, true Star Wars fans, I feel like even if you don't, because there's definitely things I don't like about 8. There's definitely things I don't like about some of the stuff that's been out there. But all in all, it's the encompassing storyline that's weaving through all of these different mediums. It's just incredible, and it's fun. It's a fun time to be a fan. So I think just after seeing the trailer, I think it's unfortunately for me, I think it's actually more of a continuation of 7.
7.5.
Because and honestly, I think, and I've always said this on our show, I think the thing that suffered with 8, to be honest, was 8 was too close to being right next to 7. I feel like there needed to be some time somehow to make it its own story, because I felt like it was just one big story from 7 through 8. We're looking for Luke, and we found Luke, and then ultimately what happened to Luke was his demise. But so I think that suffered it. But then the new powers and everything threw people off. But no, I think it will make it better in the long run for sure. So with that, with all the theory, anybody else have any questions before about any of that? Yeah.
Yep, we'll run the mic down to you, sir.
Don't move.
Don't move.
Please.
Hey guys.
Hey,
how's it
guys.
going? Hey, it's Ilse.
Cantina
Hey.
Cast, yes.
Hey, I'm Jonesy, guys.
Is that even working?
Is the switch on there? Did it die on us?
Corey.
Hello, it's working. It's working.
There you go.
The trick is put your whole mouth on top.
No,
So what's the one story element that's going to bring the whole saga together for you guys?
the whole saga. So
The
all nine
saga. What story element?
The whole
Story element.
saga.
Story element. Yeah.
I like it. Anybody want to weigh
That's
in?
actually
Well,
kind of led. That's perfect because that led into one of my. I had one of my questions was, if I can, add it to what I was saying, was basically, what is the story? What is the ultimate ending of this whole thing that would satisfy you? Because there's, you have the ending of Return of the Jedi for that trilogy, pretty satisfying. I feel like 3 was a little tough because you kind of knew how it was going to end. We don't know at all how this is going to end. So, yeah, what is that overlying story? I mean, if it's a Skywalker saga, which is what they're saying it is, clearly, I somehow feel like, I truly do, I somehow feel like you have to tie this back to how it started, which was Anakin Skywalker. I don't know how you do that necessarily, because I think we already hinted that it's Palpatine, and there is these stories and rumors out there that Palpatine somehow, conceptualized Anakin. There's a little image of that if you've seen Vader 25, that book you grabbed. Yeah, the fourth volume of that. It's a little out there, and I think even story groups went back and said, it's just images and it could be or couldn't be. But anyway, I feel like Anakin being this entire storyline. I mean, Skywalker, the Rise of Skywalker, right? So, I predict that I think Hayden is coming back in this movie. I really do. I think he's going to show up in this movie.
He has jumper powers.
I think you have to somehow harpen back to the prequels if you're going to tie this whole thing together, because that's what they're doing with. That's what it's telling me they're doing with Palpatine. Is they're not just going back to the original trilogy, which is the Emperor. I think they're going back all the way to the beginning when he, revealed themselves to the Jedi, and they're going to tie it all in. So somehow, I think Anakin has to be a part of this story to close it out for me in a way. I feel like that's when you watch all 9 movies together, that's got to come back to that in a sense. I don't know how that happens though. I'm trying to think about that still. I got 8 months to figure it out. So
we'll figure it out.
Well, you've got
They
10 minutes.
laid the groundwork of Force Ghost interacting with objects so that Hayden can interact with sand and talk about how much he hates it.
Yeah.
Force Ghost.
Come on.
But in all seriousness, I mean, I think Hayden and tying back to Anakin is really, really an interesting way to bring the saga to a close. But I think one thing that sticks out when I think of a Skywalker is I think about how, this sounds a little weird, but Skywalkers are lovers, not fighters, right? So what Skywalker's always been good at loving, right? Anakin loved Padme. That was his downfall. He loved her, but he didn't go about it the right way. Luke chose love over hate, over fighting. He chose not to fight Vader, not to fight his father because he loved him. And I think what will be interesting to see in 9 and this sequel trilogy come to a close is what is this Kylo or Ben Solo, does he have a choice to make near the end of the movie? Does it have to do with Rey and what's her connection? I think it'd be really, I think that's the thing that I think all of us love Star Wars because it's familial. It brings us back to things that we love, and it explores things like love, and your family can be your blood family, but it can also be just the people that you're grouped together with. And I think those kind of themes would really be, a way to tie it together.
And you need those for you.
I think so. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. Any Raylo fans out here today? Raylo? If I would love to see some type of just connection with Ben and Rey. I think that would really bring everything together. But
Something.
Yeah.
Some kind of connection, right?
Okay.
Come back
That's that's totally possible, and that's where when Cody mentioned the art of the Force Awakens, where there's like it was a split Force Ghost, Anakin and Vader kind of thing, and I like the idea because he's different. I mean, obviously you can't really use the rule book on Anakin because he's the chosen one. So who knows if he could be that one case where the Sith does live on because he was split. But although we did see him as a Force ghost, again, I think with Anakin you can kind of throw.
How does he live on? Like, how does this? We don't even know really how a Sith does live. I mean,
well, that's the
like. Is it just their hate? Is it their hate and that side of them that can possess the artifact or whatever it is? And then because that would kind of help me explain that there could be an Anakin Force ghost, and there could be a Vader. Helmet, the Vader helmet that has that side of his, where he disappears in that red and black swirl, like just that hate and I don't know. I love
it's
that
definitely
image.
possible that there's still an aura attached to his helmet, that kind of thing. But
Aura, yeah.
Yeah. The whole balance thing is still unanswered. Explanation for me, it's a little bit, but
time.
But that's actually kind of what answering the question. What I need from the saga and what I think ties all trilogies together is this idea of balance of the Force, what that means and how it is balanced and stays balanced, if that's even possible, and then just. It's always about the Force. It's always about the Jedi, and in this specific case of this saga, it's about the Skywalkers. So it starts with Anakin. It also starts with Palpatine, basically, because of Palpatine, what he manipulated. All this crap happened. But that's why, to me, it makes perfect sense. Palpatine ends this whole saga, as well as possibly Anakin and the Skywalker family, just because it starts with them and it has to end with them to really bookend it well and to really cap it off nicely. So that's. Yeah, and I think there will be some crazy other twists that no one has probably just seen.
Yeah, because I think I go back to episode 1. I think you brought up the Chosen One. I think the Chosen One is, I just don't want that to be just a throwaway idea. I really don't. I think that was what really appealed to me when the original when the prequels came out was this menacing figure we know about just from 4, 5, and 6 is actually was the one that was supposed to end all conflict. It was to end all war with the Sith. Right. This chosen one. So, and being the chosen one doesn't necessarily mean that everything's all good and easy to defeat evil. Like as I feel like we'll see, it's spanning over 50 plus years of all this conflict that somehow maybe the chosen one fulfills the prophecy at that point. That's kind of where I want to see it go.
I mean, my understanding of the balance right now, because Luke honestly gave me the most clear answer in Last Jedi, where he just said powerful light, powerful dark, in a way that just balances itself out. Because we had in the prequels, we had thousands of Jedi and a couple of Sith. Apparently that's unbalanced, so it's not in terms of numbers, it's in terms of power. So I think the way that this film is going to be ending, if there's true balance, then I don't know how that's going to look like, and if I'll be happy with the answer, but to me it's got to fall in a way with what Luke said.
Right.
But again, I don't know how that's going to.
Did I see another question out there somewhere? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
There's so many things about that. About that whole scene with the questions and show me again, grandfather. Like, there's so many things that just weren't answered that need to be.
Yeah, why does Kylo say, "Show me again"?
Yeah, show me again. Show me your grandfather.
Like, he has seen something from the Vader helmet.
Yeah.
And how does that tie in? And does it tie into Plagueis?
Yeah.
I think those questions are like, this trailer just brought everything back up.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
I think the one book that I hear from everybody that they wish was canon from the EU is the Darth Plagueis book, because it does explain a lot of the history of him and and Sheev and all that, Palpatine. Yeah,
it's pronounced Shive,
but again, that's another thing from the
And
prequels
H2.
that I just don't. I don't want to see kind of left and thrown away. Maybe it gets told again in a novel or in a prequel story before Episode 1, because you gotta believe that he was very, very powerful. If he end up learning to bring things back to life. I mean, that's what Palpatine's saying, but did he learn it
That was
because
Anakin's
he killed
trigger.
him before he learned it? I don't know. That's a big question to kind of lend itself to the storyline of Palpatine, whether or not he is surviving because of that training.
Well, he said, that Darth Plagueis discovered how to stop other people from dying. Could he have
Stopped himself.
Stopped himself from dying? And could Palpatine have figured that out and then
Stop himself.
off Plagueis and
Yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
he obviously made it? So
Something. Yeah.
If you want to come up here and grab
Yeah.
a little, some merch.
Grab whatever you
Grab
want.
some
Yeah.
merch.
Anything else, question-wise or anything? Comments?
Oh, real quick, my saga one. Darth Maul's still alive, and he's the bad guy. Done.
Done. Answered, and done.
Done.
Well, surely enough, the last thing we can talk
Thanks,
about
man.
as time's running out here is the title, of course, Rise of Skywalker. No one in the right mind guessed it, right? No?
I mean, I feel like on the way up here, we were like teetering around it.
Yes.
We all
but
had
I didn't think Skywalker was going to be really in it at all at the time.
We all
but
had a.
I settled on
portion
Balance
of
of the Force. I actually thought it was maybe going to be that.
Someone said Rise of something, but not Skywalker,
thought,
and then I said
I was
yeah.
thinking Rise of the Order. Or
Yeah.
something
at
like
He
one
that.
did say
point, I
Rise.
think we said son of Skywalker, so we were so
I said
close.
Spawn
Yeah.
of Skywalker. And I'm like, they're not going to say Spawn.
Melvin, we had it somewhere. No, but I think. But I think there's been some great discussions about that. I think one of them that I actually really liked was, that the Sith are extinct, the Jedi are extinct, and the new kind of Jedi type is a Skywalker. That's what they would call them going forward. I like that a little bit, but
Better than
I'm
Great Jedi.
settling on, and I'm gonna say it first. I'm settling on. I think Rey. I don't think Rey is a Skywalker. I think she adopts the Skywalker name.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have a last name. I really don't think JJ's going to mess with her patronage. I think maybe that gets answered later, but I don't know if that's really significant anymore. So I feel like Rey is in that mode now where she's been trained by these Force ghosts. I feel like she's
All of them.
read the text, the Jedi. I think she knows as much as she can. I just feel like she's the future of the Order, and she is Rey Skywalker going forward.
Henceforth. She'll be
That's what I think. Right now, until I see the next trailer.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, you can apparently just attach a name to anybody, because if Han is not really a Solo, you can just...
Han is a droid, that's right.
Throw a name to anybody, and suddenly you're part of that family.
Yeah, that could have been the one thing that kind of I loved Solo. It's one of my top 3. I loved Solo, but like that's how he got it.
Yeah. I want him to bump
Some
into
guy,
a
it's
real
like,
Solo.
okay, Solo.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy who gave him the name Solo, he is also a Solo. He's like, oh,
Yeah,
I need a family.
he's the son.
I need a family.
I never had.
Yeah.
I made him me.
Han
What's
Solo
that?
trilogy.
I know, right? Yeah.
They set it up for it.
I loved it. I know.
because
Actually,
Darth Maul's gonna be in it.
Jonathan Kasdan's actually really pushing for some more Han Solo
Like,
movies.
Underworld films would be pretty incredible.
What do you think? Name, real quick.
So, I mean, one thing, like, I think who is this, because it's a singular Skywalker to me, Rise of Skywalker. It's not Rise of the Skywalkers.
That's right.
But,
yeah.
I mean, I think, I love all the new characters JJ's brought to this trilogy. I just tend to think that Ben Solo is actually kind of the protagonist in a roundabout way. And I think that he is going to accept his Skywalker name at the end of 9.
Kylo Redemption.
Ooh.
Redemption.
Redemption.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I changed my thought.
I actually think that's a wrong way to go. I think in 8, if one thing we got clearly out of 8, in my opinion, is that he is evil. He is
Ego.
I think he was teetering,
Yeah.
and even after his father, I think killing Han, I think that was one step. But I think ultimately, when Snoke got killed, that whole throne room thing, that decision, that was the decision right there. Was I can go with Rey, or I can fully commit, and I feel like he fully committed.
But that,
I feel.
Or was
Yeah, that's a whole other thing too.
I think,
yeah, you're
I
just
think,
opening
I
up a
think-
can of worms. Yeah,
Really?
I loved that theory. I loved that theory that it was in order to progress maybe some double agent Kylo situation that they had
double
to,
agent Kylo.
that he had to do that where
doesn't
it's
play
like
by the rules.
he's doing the long con.
and he just yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
gets
about
himself.
that.
I just
I
think,
don't
think
know.
big,
Not anymore.
one big word in the
Because of
trailer is, or one phrase is, no one's ever really gone. It counts for Jedi that have died. It counts for people that have gone too far in the dark
Hashtag
side.
Maul
I think
lives.
No one's ever really gone, and you got to bring Ben home.
You got to see him disappear.
That's another
you
thing
literally
that-
got to see him disappear.
Yeah, that's another thing that ties all trilogies together. Yeah, that there's always light in him, like for Anakin. There's always good in him. There's always, Ben. That's another same thing. It's always good in him in a way. I mean, I think of like if he did make that decision, which does put him clearly on the path of a villain at the end of The Last Jedi, but that's to me the great marking of a character arc is that we're at the end of that second act at the end of The Last Jedi where everything looks horrible, but then that just makes the return that much better. So, I mean, again, you guys need to read Dark Empire because I feel like we're just hitting on so many things that happens in Dark Empire.
How much time we at?
But anyway, I'll go back to.
read it.
I'll quickly go back to
let's read it
the Rey adopting the
Page one.
Skywalker. That's why I feel like that happens because I think all the Skywalkers are dead after 9. I think
Done.
Kylo dies. I think somehow I don't know how you're gonna do Leia, but I think she because this is the end of the
Yeah.
Skywalker saga. It's the
Well,
end.
and
I do like
So-
yours, Dave. I do like your
Think they're
theory
all-
though.
I think they're gone.
I like because the Skywalkers are gone. Skywalkers are gone, and Rey carries on.
Rey carries on the name.
kind of the
Skywalker's
name
gone,
and the
Rey
legend.
carries on.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only thing. I think if Kylo's gonna, I think he's gonna. There's no way this war criminal will survive, regardless if he's redeemed in the eyes of Rey or not. So,
Yeah.
We know.
my whole thing though of all this whole trilogy and kind of in a way to sum up my thoughts is Ben is even though he's Ben Solo, he's a Skywalker family blood. But you can't end the family. You can't end the saga with the death of the last Skywalker. That's no way to end this family's legacy. That's such a down. After all these movies, after all
But
these
how
fights
he
and battles,
dies. How
yeah,
he
after
dies.
all this stuff, it's
That's
like,
my
oh,
ending. I
the
want an
family's
Ewok
gonna
ending.
die.
I want to just
No.
everybody together.
That can still happen, but there still needs to be that legacy of hope for that this family, the Skywalker legacy lives on, or it isn't ending on a downer. So that can only, to me, can only be fulfilled if Rey carries that mantle in some way, or a people carries that mantle in some way.
Well, it's it's not always sad because when Darth Vader dies, spoilers, he what made you feel so great is that he came back as a Force ghost.
But I know, but that's
I was happy.
we the viewers know that, and Luke knows that.
Yeah.
But the galaxy doesn't know that. I'm thinking of the galaxy.
Oh,
Like
you're thinking of the
Yeah.
the galaxy that can't. The people. Can't, the legend of Luke Skywalker, will die off eventually. So it's like, what's going to happen with this legend of the Skywalker family?
He could die, like, Kylo could even die from, like, just intense possession. Like, I don't know why. I have this image where I want to see dark, eyes and Sith eyes, and I want to see Kylo evil. You know what I mean? I want to see him, like, just, I just want to see more of that.
Yeah.
Maybe he just dies through the whole experience.
Can't handle it.
And in order to kill the Emperor, he's like, I'll just keep it, and then it'll die with me, and then he saves the day. That could be a cool way to go.
He just does this and just dies.
Okay. It's too much.
He just grunts and
Curls
dies.
into a
Was that the Hulk movie?
Shrivels up.
Well,
music.
Yeah,
well,
it
unfortunately, we could. I know the clock is running down here. We could keep going for hours, of course, but that's the beauty of it. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We have very limited. I have a couple of Inside the Force shirts. If anybody wants one,
Black shirts.
They're black. We kind of went with our
Yeah.
lightsaber
Power
colors.
Ranger colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always loved
It's
Billy.
appropriate.
But look, I'll just end it with, look, celebration is, I hope everybody keeps and hangs out the weekend. We'll be here all through Sunday. Also, there's so much more to do, so much more to talk about. We're going to record a show on our way back to Kentucky because there was Fallen Order today that was incredible. If you guys saw that trailer yet. Mandalorian is back tomorrow, or the panel's tomorrow. And then I'm stoked for the Clone Wars. I cannot believe this thing is coming back. I cannot wait to see that. So we're going to talk all about that on the next show. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
May the force be
Thank you.
with you.